Hello and welcome to Americans Learn. My name is Lauren, and today I am looking at a video suggested by Pterodactylus, channel member. Thank you so much. This one is the scariest night of my life. 5 terrifying Irish ghost stories. So I've been asking for creepy content to be delivered upon my comment section. So I have been receiving some creepy comments, or some creepy content delivered upon my content section. I love a ghost story. I love a ghost story. Not sure if it matters that these are Irish or not, but again, I feel like Ireland has a lot of really interesting mythology that I don't know a ton about, but there's all the stories they have of of the fae, of the good folks, of I feel like this could be very interesting. And if these are I'm not sure if these are going to be personal stories, or if they are going to be more like actual myth stories, or like actual creepy stories. So it's like we tell Bloody Mary and stories about I don't know, American. I'm trying to think of American. Oh, like Ichabod Crane, like things like that. So I'm wondering if these are going to be more like that kind of story, or if they're just going to be I was in a haunted house and I heard a voice. Like, no idea what I'm really going to expect here, but hey, you know what? That's why we are here. We're here to watch some creepy stories. Let's go.
The Scariest Night of My Life, a collection of Irish ghost stories. Ireland is a land steeped in history, myth and legend. Its rolling hills and ancient forests hide secrets that have been whispered through the ages, and its grand estates and castles, once filled with laughter and life, now stand as silent witnesses to the passage of time. But some places are never truly empty. Some places remember the people who lived there, the tragedies that unfolded, and the darkness that lingers. These 5 stories recount encounters with that lingering darkness.
Okay,
Nights
so
when the veil between the living and the dead was
then
thin and terror became all too real. This is the scariest night of my life. The Shadow at Fermanagh Florence Court. Nestled deep in the heart of County Fermanagh, Florence Court is an imposing Georgian mansion surrounded by dense forests.
I feel like if you cleaned it up a little, it could be
once home
nice.
to the Earls of Enniskillen, now stands as a relic of the past.
Because it just needs some power washing, I feel like Ireland's kind of moist, right? Kind of rains a lot. So I feel like if you washed this building up, it would suddenly go from kind of drab and a little bit imposing to being very grand.
Its grandeur fading into the wilderness. Despite its beauty, the house has a dark reputation. Locals whisper of strange happenings, unexplainable sounds, and the appearance of a shadowy figure said to roam its halls.
Ooh.
Being part of a small paranormal investigation group, I couldn't resist the chance to explore the mansion after hours. The night was crisp, the kind where the wind howls through the trees and makes every rustle seem like footsteps behind you. My group of 5, armed with cameras, voice recorders, and a range of other gadgets, entered the mansion around 10 p.m. Everything seemed normal at first, silent, still, and abandoned, the perfect setting for a ghost hunt. We wandered through the grand halls, our footsteps echoing off the stone floors, casting long shadows under the dim moonlight streaming through the tall windows. As the hours ticked by, nothing out of the ordinary occurred, and the tension began to ease. That is, until I wandered downstairs alone. The lower chambers of Florence Court are less preserved than the upper levels, damp and filled with the smell of decay, with the walls flaking from centuries of moisture. There was a distinct chill in the air, more than just the autumn cold. It was as though the atmosphere had thickened. The air was heavy, making it difficult to breathe. And then I felt it. A presence. It wasn't something I could see or hear, but it was there. My skin prickled, the hairs on the back of my neck standing on end as I made my way through the narrow corridor. Just as I turned the corner into a darkened room, I saw it. A shadow, darker than the surrounding blackness, stood against the far wall. It wasn't shaped like a human figure. It was amorphous, like smoke, yet it felt malevolent, like it was staring directly into my soul. My heart began to race, the sound of my own blood pounding in my ears. I couldn't move. I couldn't even blink. My eyes were locked on that shadow,
I've had
and in
dreams
that
like that.
moment I was filled with an overwhelming sense of dread.
I've had a
I
lot of
don't know
dreams
how
like
long I
that.
stood there, frozen in place. Time seemed to warp around me. The air grew colder, and my breath became visible in the dim light of my flashlight, now flickering as if struggling to stay alive.
See, I was like, but there's a flashlight, weird shadows. I'm like, it's things like that. I'm just like, I just don't believe it's ghosts, you know? I do believe it is scary. But it's like there's just it's your brain. And you're primed to see ghosts, especially if you already know there's ghosts or like you know what the stories hold. And it's like, especially if it doesn't even look like a if it just looks like a darker patch of black. Like I mean, your eyes play tricks on you in the dark. They just fully do. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, though, I have had a lot of dreams like this, and it absolutely terrifying.
Suddenly, the door behind me slammed shut, echoing through the narrow stone hallways. The sound snapped me out of my trance, and I bolted toward the door, pulling and yanking at the handle.
It's
It
a
wouldn't
push.
budge. My breathing became
It's a push
frantic,
door.
chest tightening as panic set in. I was trapped in the dark with that thing, and then I felt it, icy fingers brushing the back of my neck. I screamed louder than I ever had in my life. My voice echoed through the chamber, but no one came. I banged on the door, and after what felt like an eternity, it finally flew open with a gust of cold air. I sprinted upstairs, my footsteps thundering against the stone floors, not daring to
It
look
didn't even
back.
do anything.
When I reached the ground
Even if there was a ghost there that locked you in and like touched the back of your neck. And I don't know if this person who was describing it has long hair or short hair, but like I have felt stuff on the back of my neck before, especially at night, especially when I'm trying to go to sleep, and it's like it's my hair. Or I've even like been like tired enough that like, I mean, this person wasn't sleeping, but like I've been tired enough that I had my hand back like this and touched my own self and like jolted myself into a panic attack because I was like something touched me and it was like, oh, it was me. And I don't think that is what happened here. And again, who knows if these stories are even real or if they're just well written, you know, spooky tales, because it could be either one. Because this one, again, the writing in it is pretty good. I do feel like I can see the actual, I can see it, you know? So they've done a good job of like describing what has happened. I'm just like, but like the thing is, it locked the door, made things cold, freaked you out a little bit, and then now the wind opens the door for you, which also doesn't make sense. Also, yeah, it's a fucking push door. Oh my God, I was so right, because it said the door slammed shut, right? Which indicates that the pressure came in from, it was this way, and boom, now it slammed shut. Now you're going to pull on it. Of course it's not going to open. Don't know how the wind now opens it again. But again, I think that's supposed to be the supernatural part. But like, girl, you're not going to open it by pulling if it's a push. If you pushed it, maybe it would have opened right away. I don't know. But also like, it just, if assuming entity, you know, door slams this way, so you're pulling on it to open it up because it's a pull. Because that's the way it opens. You're pulling, it's not opening. It touches you, it freaks you out, and then it lets you go. Like, what was the point of that? Like, it didn't even hurt you. Like, no scratches even? Anyway, that doesn't seem too malevolent to me. That sounds kind of trickster.
foyer, my group was waiting for me, confused looks on their faces. They hadn't heard the door slam. They hadn't heard me scream. They didn't see the shadow. But the look on my face must have said it all. That night, I left Florence Court and swore never to return. I couldn't shake the feeling of those cold fingers on my neck or the sight of that shadowy figure lurking in the dark. To this day, I can't explain what happened in that room, but I know one thing for certain. There are some places we are not meant to explore, and
Well,
Florence
if you'd
Court
gone down
is
in
one
the
of them.
daytime with lights, maybe you would have been able to explain some
The Screaming
stuff.
Woman of Tollymore Forest.
Ooh, fun. It was a fox.
Tollymore Forest Park in County Down is a place of stunning natural beauty, with its ancient trees, cascading rivers, and picturesque trails that stretch for miles. The forest is popular with hikers and campers, especially during the autumn months when the leaves turn golden and the crisp air fills your lungs. I had been there a few times before with friends, and we decided one October to do something we'd never tried before. Camp overnight in the woods. The evening started
All right.
perfectly. We
Well,
set up our tents in a secluded
I
spot.
wonder if they'd camped in other woods. Like, that's what I wanted. It's like, how much camping in general have you done? Because my first thought, they said screaming woman in the woods. I'm like, it's gotta be a fox. Foxes scream like that. Or, I mean, if it was America, some kind of mountain lion or something, because they also can scream and they sound like a woman. There's birds. There's certain birds when they scream, they sound like humans. Like, there's a ton of animals out there that when they scream, it sounds human. And it's really unnerving. And if you've never been camping before, or you know, or if you don't go camping in places where there's like still a lot of like wildlife that lives there, you know, it would be terrifying.
Spot near the Shimna River, the sound of rushing water creating a peaceful background. As night fell, we sat around the campfire, telling ghost stories, laughing, and enjoying the serenity of the forest. It wasn't until around 1 a.m. that things took a sinister turn. I was the first to hear it, a high-pitched scream in the distance, so faint that I thought I had imagined it. I paused, straining my ears, but it was gone. Not wanting to alarm the others, I brushed it off and went back to listening to the crackling fire. Then it came again, louder this time, unmistakable. The sound of a woman screaming, filled with terror. I looked at my friends. They had heard it too, and the jovial atmosphere vanished, replaced with an uneasy silence. The scream came again, echoing through the forest, as if it was
100% a
bouncing off the
fox.
trees from every direction. It was closer now. My heart pounded as I grabbed a flashlight and stood up.
Ooh, are we
"Someone's
gonna
in
see
trouble,"
her?
I said,
No, they're
trying to
not.
sound braver than I felt.
Don't go into
My
the
friends
woods.
hesitated, but followed as I headed in the direction of the screams.
You're an idiot.
The deeper we went into the forest, the darker and more oppressive it became.
Shocking.
The trees seemed to close in on us, their twisted branches forming eerie silhouettes against the night sky. After what felt like an eternity, we reached a small clearing. The screams had
Are we gonna
stopped,
see her?
leaving behind an unsettling silence that made my skin crawl.
Because I mean, I've been camping in the woods. I've been camping at night. I've been camping a lot. But you know, you hear weird noises. But like, if you go into the woods at night with your flashlight, oh my god, does it play tricks on you? Like, I have seen trees. Like, if you get like a birch tree or something, or dogwood, something that's kind of got sort of palish bark. Some of them are very people-shaped. It's very unnerving. I'm just saying it's unnerving.
In the middle of the clearing stood a woman. Her back was to us, and she was dressed in a torn white gown that fluttered slightly in the breeze. She was completely still, her hair hanging in long, tangled strands down her back. I called out to her, but she didn't move. Something about her felt wrong, unnatural. My gut twisted with
See, this is
fear,
the part
but I
where
took a
it's like, I
step
don't
forward,
believe they did this
determined to
part.
help. That's when she turned around. Her face was a grotesque, contorted mask of agony, her mouth wide open as if mid-scream, but no sound came out. Her eyes, sunken, dark and hollow, locked onto mine, and I felt a cold wave of terror wash over me. Before I could react, she let out a deafening, blood-curdling scream that seemed to come from everywhere at once, filling the air with its horrific intensity. I stumbled back, frozen with fear, as the
No, you
woman
didn't,
began
then.
to move toward us. My legs finally
You don't stumble back and be frozen with fear. Finding inconsistencies in your tale, mon frere.
obeyed, and I turned to run, my friends right behind me. We didn't stop running
Were they
until
in-
we reached the campsite.
Okay, so again, now I'm confused again by about where your friend, because you were in front, you were leading the charge with the flashlight. First you're frozen, then you're stumbling. Now you could run again. Now your friends are, did you just push through them? You should have been at the back of that pack. Now I'm just nitpicking.
Breathless and shaking. The woman's scream echoed in my mind long after it faded into the night. We packed up
And
our
again,
things
she
in a
didn't do
frenzy
anything-
and left Tollymore
Oh, they left
Forest
in the
before
They
sunrise.
left at night. Okay.
I haven't been back since, and I don't plan to. That scream still haunts me, and I know that whatever I saw in that clearing wasn't human.
Okay. See, that one, I believe part of the story happened. I believe they went camping with their friends. I believe they heard screams in the night. Um, I could even buy that they went to try and track it down. I can even buy that, but they didn't see a person. I don't believe that part. Or if they whatever they did see, it might have looked like person-ish, but like distorted enough that they freaked out and ran. But I honestly don't even really believe they went looking. Like I simply don't.
The blood red room of Kilronan Castle.
I'm gonna okay, look, I need to try to like take off my skeptic glasses for this. This is supposed to just be a fun exercise, not a debunking, like all right. It's just for fun, just for fun, just for fun. I'm not gonna try and debunk anything else. Know that it's happening in my head, but I'm gonna just keep it in there, maybe, unless I come up with something really good.
Kilronan Castle, perched on the edge of Lough Meala in County Roscommon, is a place where the line between luxury and legend blurs.
Ooh.
Once the stronghold of the
That's a cool
McDermotts, a powerful Gaelic family, it now operates as a high-end hotel. But beneath its polished veneer and modern comforts lies a history steeped in tragedy and bloodshed. I was unaware of the castle's haunted past when I booked a weekend getaway there, hoping for nothing more than a peaceful retreat. Little did I know, the castle had its own plans for me. The first night passed uneventfully. The grand corridors, the rich tapestries, and the flickering fire in the lobby made for a cozy and enchanting atmosphere.
Cute.
My room was on the second floor, overlooking the lake, and as I drifted off to sleep, I couldn't help but feel a sense of contentment. The second night was different. After a long day of exploring the nearby woods and historical sites, I returned to the castle feeling tired but oddly restless. Something about the air felt thicker, like an invisible weight pressing down on me. As I made my way to my room, the corridor seemed darker, the flickering lights casting strange shadows on the walls. I chalked it up to exhaustion and dismissed the growing unease in my chest. At around 2 a.m., I woke abruptly. I wasn't sure why at first. There hadn't been a sound, no knocking or creaking.
I hate it when that happens.
Yet my heart was pounding in my chest, as if I had been startled awake by something unseen. The room felt different, colder than it should have been, considering the fire I had left burning in the hearth. As I sat up in bed, I noticed a strange glow. It wasn't the soft orange of the fireplace, but a deep, pulsating red, as though the very walls of the room were bleeding light. I blinked, trying to adjust my eyes to the strange illumination, but the more I looked, the more unsettling it became. The entire room was bathed in this eerie red glow, and it seemed to seep from the walls themselves. My breath hitched in my throat. I felt an overwhelming sense of dread, a sensation so strong that my body reacted instinctively. My skin prickled with goosebumps, and my heart pounded louder in my ears. Something was wrong. Very, very wrong. I fumbled for the lamp on my bedside table, hoping the artificial light would break the strange atmosphere. But when I flicked the switch, nothing happened. The red glow persisted, unwavering. I turned toward the door, thinking about leaving the room to find someone, anyone, who could explain what was happening. That's when I saw it. In the far corner of the room, near the heavy velvet drapes, stood a figure. At first I thought it was a shadow cast by the strange red light, but as my eyes adjusted, I realized it was something much more solid. The figure was tall, unnervingly tall, with long, gaunt limbs and a hunched posture, as though it had been standing there for centuries, waiting. I couldn't make out its face. It was hidden in the deep shadows, but the figure's presence radiated malevolence. My blood ran cold when I noticed something else. Its hands. They were dripping with blood, crimson droplets falling silently to the floor, forming small, dark pools on the plush carpet. I stared in disbelief, frozen in place. The figure didn't move. It didn't speak. It just stood there, watching me, its hands slowly leaking blood. My throat was dry, and I tried to scream, but no sound escaped my lips. I was paralyzed by fear, unable to break eye contact with the shadowy figure. The room felt smaller, as if the walls were closing in around me. I don't know how long I sat there, staring at this thing, but time seemed to slow to a crawl. The air in the room grew colder, so cold that I could see my breath in front of me, forming small clouds in the red light. My mind raced, desperately trying to make sense of what I was seeing. Was this some kind of nightmare?
Yes.
Had I fallen asleep again? Without warning, the figure began to move. Slowly, it lifted one blood-stained hand and extended it toward me. My body screamed at me to move, to run, but I couldn't.
Can't.
It was as if I was glued to the bed, a
Mhm.
prisoner in my own skin. The figure took one step forward, then another, its hand outstretched, reaching for me. The closer it got, the heavier the air became, suffocating and cold. I could smell the metallic tang of blood now, thick and overwhelming. My chest tightened as panic set in. I needed to get out. I needed to escape. Summoning every ounce of strength I had left, I finally managed to move. I
Yeah.
bolted upright, throwing myself out of bed and stumbling toward the door. My hands fumbled with the lock, shaking so violently that it took me what felt like an eternity to open it. Finally, the door gave way, and I burst out into the corridor, gasping for breath. The hallway was dark and empty, but it felt like a haven compared to the nightmare inside my room. I didn't stop running until I reached the lobby, where I found one of the night staff. I must have looked like a madwoman, babbling incoherently about blood and shadows, because the staff member's eyes widened in concern. I refused to go back to that room. I spent the rest of the night in the lobby, huddled on a sofa, staring at the grand fireplace, trying to convince myself it had all been a terrible dream.
It was.
But the next morning, when I gathered the
Oh,
courage
was she gonna say that the blood was in the
to
thing?
retrieve my things, I found something that chilled me to the
Was it-
bone. The carpet near the drapes was stained dark red,
Yeah, no.
exactly where the figure had stood. I left Kilronan Castle that day and never returned.
Okay, so up until that last pit, I was like, this happened. Like, there's absolutely no way that the carpet was dripping with blood, unless it might have been, maybe you had a wine stain on the ground or something, but like, no way, absolutely not. But up until then, every single thing that they described happening, like, I've had almost identical experiences, like in with my own night terrors. Like, that is a very good description of what has happened. It's like, especially because, like, look, you feel like you're awake. You do feel like you're awake, and like when it's happened to me, it's like I wake up and I'm like looking around, and I can it looks like my room. It looks like the room I fell asleep in, and so and your eyes are open. You know your eyes are open. You're like looking. You know it's the room. You can sort of make out the same shapes that were there. Every so often though, like you will see something weird, like a weird figure. And again, it's almost certainly the lamp in the corner, and it's like it's hunched because it's like little, it's got one of those hook lamps or something. Or like, your eyes are again playing tricks on you, because like what happens is like you're kind of you're in a very nebulous place between awake and asleep. Like your body is still fully out, and your brain is supplying imagery, but like it also is waking up. So your brain is kind of waking up a little bit, and you think you're awake, but you're not though. Like but like it looks correct. I've even like fully managed to, in my dream, it takes it, and again, you do feel like you're being cemented to the bed, like you cannot get up. And then when you do finally, like it is very much like you've just burst free from like jello or something, like like that. And like, turn on the light, and it's like, and then you're just like shaking, and it's like, but all of it is felt because like, I mean, and that is how I've woken myself up before, is like literally launching myself up and turning on the light. And I did it like finally physically. And again, I was asleep, but I wasn't asleep. And it's so weird. I have actually also felt like something was like coming towards me. I've seen something coming towards me and like reaching out, and managed to get out of bed and into the hallway. And then like, I'm just sitting there like chilling in the hallway. And then I wake up for real, and now I'm in my bed again. But like, you can move, like you can barely move, you can barely breathe, you can barely think. It is absolutely terrifying. If you've never had a night terror, you're so lucky. Oh my God, I used to get them all the time. And again, like you feel like you can feel like these presences around. You can feel like a sense of evil coming towards you, like, and you can't move, and you're so stuck, and it's so scary. And I mean, it's taken me hours. Like, if I have one, I'm almost certainly not going back to sleep again for another like 4 hours. Like, I'll have night terror at 2, and I don't fall back asleep until like 5 or 6, because I'm just like, it's like your heart. It doesn't. It's ugh. Anyway, like I said, fully believe, like, and especially it happens when you're kind of stressed and this girl's traveling alone and you're in a weird place, new country, whatever. I fully believe that the stress of it all could have given her like the impetus to have a night terror. 100%. I do not believe that she went up to the room the next day and found a mysterious puddle of blood in her room. Like, that part didn't happen, but the rest of it, 100%. 100% she had that happen to her.
To this day, I can't explain what happened in that room, but I know one thing for certain. There is something in that castle that does not belong in this world, and it is far from finished with those who enter its walls. The Phantom Horses of Enniscorthy Bridge.
Ooh, fun.
The town of Enniscorthy, nestled along the banks of the River Slaney in County Wexford, is known for its charming streets and historical significance. The Enniscorthy Bridge, an unassuming stone structure, connects both sides of the town, but few know about its darker history. During the Irish Rebellion of 1798, the bridge became the site of a brutal conflict between the local rebels and British forces. The fighting here was so fierce that some said the river ran red with blood.
Ugh,
the soldiers
yikes.
who fell at the bridge were said to have been left in the water for days, their bodies drifting along the coast.
Yikes.
They say that on some nights, you can still hear the sounds of those who died there, the distant echoes of gunfire, the clash of metal, and the screams of the fallen. But the strangest legend surrounding Enniscorthy Bridge speaks of phantom horses charging across the bridge in the dead of night.
Ooh.
I had heard the stories as a
Fun.
child growing up in Wexford, but I never put much stock in them. Ghost stories, I thought, were for scaring tourists and entertaining kids. But one late autumn night, I was walking home from a friend's house, and I experienced something I will never forget. The air that night was cool and crisp, with a thick mist rising off the River Slaney, shrouding the town in an eerie glow. As I approached the bridge, the familiar structure seemed different, darker, more menacing in the fog. I hesitated at the edge, something in my gut telling me to turn back, but I shook off the feeling. After all, it was just a bridge. Just another quiet walk home in the night. But as I stepped onto the bridge, the temperature seemed to drop dramatically. I could see my breath clouding in front of me, and an
Okay.
oppressive silence
Take a
settled
drink
over
every
the
time you
area,
see their
broken
breath
only
clouding
by
in
the
front of
faint
you.
lapping of water against the stone. I quickened my pace, eager to cross and leave the strange feeling behind. That's when I heard it. The unmistakable
read.
sound of hooves clattering on the stone behind me. At first, I thought it was just a late-night rider, though it seemed odd for anyone to be riding through town at this hour. But when I turned around to look, there was
Trying to
nothing.
make hoof sounds. It didn't work. I tried something there. It didn't work.
No horse, no rider, only the thick, swirling mist that obscured the street behind me. The hooves grew louder, thundering now, as if a team of horses was charging down the bridge. My heart raced, and my mind scrambled for an explanation. But the noise was undeniable. The sound of hooves echoed louder, pounding faster, growing closer by the second. Panic surged through me, and I broke into a run. But the bridge felt endless, each step taking me nowhere. And
How
the sound
high
of
were
hooves
you when
seemed
you
to
left your
surround
friend's
me, coming from
house?
every direction. Halfway across, I turned, desperate to see what was chasing me. That's when I saw them. 4 massive, ghostly horses galloping through the
Fun.
mist. Their eyes were wild, their mouths foaming as they bore down on me, their hooves striking the cobblestones with such force that I swore the bridge trembled beneath my feet.
Fun. The only reason I asked that before they saw the horses is because, like, I have definitely like taken a gummy or something and then walked from where I was, like, my work to home or whatever. It's like where, you know, I was not high at work. This was after everyone, like, we were waiting for our money to be delivered to us, and we were having some fun in the courtyard. But like walking home, after like 50 milligrams, I was like, this feels like it's taking a very long time. So sometimes, I mean, I've never hallucinated under the influence, but like, I will say certain things can like stretch out time for you a little bit. Like, it's like I literally thought I got lost. Like, I was like, where the fuck am I at? Halfway home. But it just was like it felt like it had taken like 20 minutes to get there. But my sense of time was just fucked. But they saw the horses, so not that.
But there were no riders, Just the horses, spectral and terrifying, as if they had been summoned from some distant battlefield, their souls forever bound to the bridge.
Hopefully they
I
got
was
to where they were going.
paralyzed, unable to move as they thundered toward me. Just when I thought they would trample me, they disappeared, vanishing into the mist as quickly as they had appeared. The silence that followed was deafening. My chest heaved, my heart pounded in my ears, but the sound of the hooves had gone, leaving only the soft sound of the river below. I stood there, gasping for breath, unsure of what I had just witnessed. The mist slowly lifted, and the bridge returned to its quiet, empty state. But I knew I hadn't imagined it. The phantom horses of Enniscorthy Bridge were real, a spectral reminder of the battles fought long ago. Since that night, I've never walked across Enniscorthy Bridge after dark. I've heard others talk about strange sounds and ghostly sightings, but I know what I saw. I know that somewhere in the fog, those horses are still running, trapped between the world of the living and the dead, waiting for their next rider, or their next victim.
See, okay, there were no victims. Nobody was hurt. Like, okay, what I really want from one of these stories, and I think I'm on the last one, but what I really want from one of these stories is for, like, the entity or whatever, I want there to have been, this is why I'm like, this is why I was hoping for, like, a more mythology-based tale, like an actual ghost story. It's like, and rumor is told, it's as opposed to a first-person narrative, because it's like, ghost stories to me are scarier when, again, when you don't know the outcome. So it's like when, you close up a room and no one could, like, and then the person inside and is like dead, or like they disappear forever. Like Ichabod Crane, when like he's told the story of the headless horseman and then he like goes through the bridge or whatever, and it's like unclear whether or not Ichabod is alive or dead at the end of the story. Like that's the kind of thing that's like you don't know, and that's what adds an air of mystery. And like all of this is just like, oh, I was walking alone and the atmosphere turned heavy and my breath was in front of my face. Now I could see it. The air was cold and I saw something terrifying and it came towards me and then nothing happened. Like every single one. The scariest one so far has been that night terror story in the hotel, because I have experienced night terrors and I know how it feels to have that happen and how real it feels. And it does, because it does feel very, very, very real when it's happening. 100% you think it's real, because again, you're looking around at your room or at your hotel room. Like you're looking around in the place you fell asleep and it's correct. Like it's not, oh, it was my room, but it wasn't really my room, but I knew in my dream it was my room. It's not that feeling. It is, you look around and it is your bedroom. My biggest tell for those things now, when I'm thinking logically, my biggest tell, the way that I should be able to know if it's real or not, is because if it's not real, I can see it. Like if my vision is so terrible, so it's like if I'm asleep and no contacts or glasses or anything, and then if I wake up and I'm in the dark, there's shadows and blurry masses and absolutely nothing concrete. Like I can't see anything. The only reason I know where anything is because I put it in the same place, and I can reach out and find the little remote that leads to my fairy lights turning on. I can reach up and click on the light. I can reach over to my desk and like grab my glasses. Like I know where those things go and I know where they are. It's the only reason I can ever find anything. Which is why it's a problem if I knock my glasses off of the counter and now like I have to go and find them, because it's like I very much, my glasses, I can't see anything without my glasses. That's very much me. It's very true. I cannot see them. I have to like get on the floor and like put my nose to the ground basically to be able to find them. But you don't think about that when you're in the midst of a night terror like that. Anyway, that's been the scariest one so far.
The Crying Child of Belveley Castle.
All right, let's go.
Belveley Castle in County Cork stands on the shores of Great Island, its ancient stone walls weathered by centuries of wind and rain.
That's just a lookout
Though
tower,
it
huh?
appears much like any other old Irish castle, Belveley has a chilling past that few are willing to speak of.
Ooh, a chilling
In the late
past.
1600s, the castle was home to the Cromwell family, who lived there with their young daughter, Maeve. The story goes that Maeve, a lively and curious child, disappeared one summer afternoon while playing near the water's edge. Despite an exhaustive search, her body was never found.
See,
Some
we're on the
claimed
right
that
track.
the tide had taken her, while others believed she had been abducted. But over the years, whispers of her ghost began to circulate. Stories of a child's voice heard crying for help near the castle walls, and sightings of a small figure standing at the water's edge, her eyes wide with fear. I didn't know
Poor
any
girl.
of this when my friend, a local historian,
always say that.
invited me to stay at Belveley Castle for a weekend of research. We were working on a documentary about haunted places in Ireland, and the castle's recent restoration made it a prime location.
All right, I'm already angry at the storyteller. I didn't know it was haunted. I was doing a documentary about haunted places. You bitch. So you knew that it was haunted then. So you knew. You are a liar.
I was excited for the trip, hoping to catch some great footage and maybe
Maybe they were just saying they don't.
experience something paranormal.
I think maybe they don't know about Maeve specifically. So if they don't know about a child ghost and then they see the ghost of a child, that's different. That's better.
But I wasn't prepared for the terror that awaited me. The first day was uneventful. We spent the afternoon exploring the grounds, filming interviews and capturing shots of the castle from various angles.
Okay, so well then now you do know about the child. If you were doing interviews and like talking about why it's haunted, and you know about the kid then. Okay, I'm angry. all right, I'm salty.
By the time night fell, I was exhausted and ready to turn in. My room was at the top of a narrow, winding staircase, its window overlooking the dark waters of the bay.
Cool.
The old bed creaked as I lay down, the wind howling outside, and before long, I drifted into a deep sleep. But in the dead of night, I awoke to the sound of crying. At first, I thought it was the wind playing
What was with that? Like, okay, there's been a couple of weird little
tricks on my mind, but as I lay there, the sound grew
things like
louder,
that in
more
this
distinct.
video.
It was the unmistakable sobbing of a child.
I do think like I think that's like an editing error. Like, so it's fine.
Heart-wrenching and filled with
Aw.
despair.
Sorry, girl.
I sat up, straining to hear. The crying seemed to echo through the castle's stone halls, bouncing off the walls, growing louder with each passing second. I threw on my coat, grabbed a flashlight, and made my way down the stairs, following the sound. It led me through the darkened corridors, past ancient tapestries and forgotten rooms, until I reached the front door. The crying continued, now louder than ever, coming from outside,
That's
near the
creepy,
water.
bitch.
I hesitated before stepping out into the night, the cold air biting at my skin. My breath puffed in front of me as I followed
There
the
it
sound
is.
toward the shore.
Take your shot.
And then, there she was. A small girl, drenched from head to toe, her long hair hanging in wet strands around her face. She stood at the water's edge, her back to me, her tiny body shaking with sobs. She stood at the water's edge, her long hair was. A small girl, drenched from head to toe, her long hair hanging in wet strands around her face. She stood at the water's edge,
How would you know?
her back to me.
Hair's around her face, but her back's to you. How do you know where her hair's at? Some of it has got to be behind her. What do you talk? Like, is it just because she like thinks all of her hair's here? How does she know it's by her face? Come on, girl.
Her tiny body shaking with sobs. Maeve? I whispered, though I didn't expect an answer. The girl didn't move. She just stood there, crying softly. I stepped closer, my heart pounding in my chest, but as I reached out to touch her, she vanished, disappearing into the mist as if she had never been there at all. I stood frozen, my mind racing, unsure of what I had just seen. The crying had stopped, and the night was eerily silent. I hurried back to the castle, locking the door behind me.
That'll
but sleep
help.
was impossible. The image of that crying child haunted me, her sobs echoing in my mind long after they had faded into the night. I left Belveley Castle the next morning, unable to shake the feeling that Maeve's spirit was still there, trapped by the water's edge, forever searching for someone to hear her cries.
Well, someone did.
These 5
and it didn't
stories are
help,
but a glimpse into the
so-
haunted history that lies hidden in the corners of Ireland. Each tale tells of nights when the supernatural became undeniable, when shadows took form, and the living encountered the echoes of the past. Ireland's haunted places, from ancient castles to quiet bridges, remind us that some spirits never rest, and for those who dare to cross paths with them, the scariest night of their life might be just around the corner. Would you dare to visit these places? Or
Yes.
would you, like those who lived through it, flee and never look back?
No. I wouldn't. I wouldn't flee and never look back because I all right, I know it was like I always do that whenever I watch things like this. I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to try and just watch it for fun and I'm not going to try and debunk anything." But it's just it's so easy. Like, come on. All of them are like maybe if they'd had like a different narrator for each tale just to sort of like add to the actual first person experience sort of thing. But again, all the same stuff over and over and over again. And then I'm just like that's why it's like I want to hear some creepy Celtic myths. I think that would be sick. I think those might actually be scary. Like creepy Celtic myths might actually freak you out because it's like again, I don't want to hear the first person perspective, you know? I want the person who they it's scarier if you don't know the end. You know, the maybe I'm just like completely like alone in that one, but I just think that, you know, it's all because again, I just like I said earlier, it's always the same thing. You're alone, the air turns heavy, things get cold, you can see your breath, your heart is pounding in your chest, you see a shape or a figure or some kind of thing, and then they disappear. Okay. It's always dark. Like, that's why I don't know. I don't know. I know that there's probably some very scary Irish stories out there because it, you know, an old castles like generations of horribleness and like tragedy and like all of that. Like there's it's rife for a good ghost story. I just think that these were, uh, you know, I believe that maybe parts of some of them happened. I believe that parts of some of them happened to people. Um, but anyway, I don't know. So like I described night terrors, like I've had like that's been my main experience with that is like really really truly horrifying night terrors. Have any I mean have you guys had an experience like that? I mean I'm not going to try and debunk you in the comments like because again most of the time I believe that people see something. I believe they experienced a thing. I just don't necessarily think that that thing that they experienced was a ghost or a demon or a monster or something supernatural. I think that there is something very natural that occurred, but you know, I do believe that people have experiences and they do see stuff that they can't explain. And I believe that things have happened that I couldn't explain too, even if I was there. Like, I just, you know, don't believe that it was ghosts. Anyway, still interesting. Like, you know, these are still fun. And like I said, I do believe like the scariest story was the night terror one. That was really scary. I agree. That was terrifying. They described it really, really well. The writing on that one was peak. So, yeah, just keep giving me spooky stuff to look at. If you know some spooky Irish myths, you can go ahead and let me know about those too because that sounds like fun. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.